Okay, Breakfast Clubbers, then
Yes.
please welcome our guest today, What Thomas.
Hello. Hello.
How are you both?
We're good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you. I should have asked you that individually because when I watch interviews, people always say that, and then you always answer together because you're so linked.
I know, it's a twin thing.
Yeah. We're actually, a couple of my friends are motorcycle racers. They're twins called Sam and Alex Lowe's, but they're identical twins. And we had Sam on the other day, and he was telling us about their connection together and how that works. And actually, somebody, I'll go straight in with a question that somebody sent in. It was Rabsky, Robert from Scotland. He said, being twins, are you on the same page always musically? But you're very different characters, aren't you?
We are, and we are actually mostly on the same page musically. Actually, all the time musically.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if we've ever disagreed on anything.
I think like there's obviously a few writing sessions where like, no, I think that lyric works. No, I think that lyric works. But it's always sorted quite quickly.
Well, yeah, because you've put out so much music really in the last 7 years. It is quite extraordinary. And I was just saying that about your albums, all of them at #1, and of course Cartwheels going to #1 in the main chart. Just brilliant. It's just been great for you, hasn't it?
It has. It really has. It's been quite surreal. We still can't quite believe that Cartwheels went to #1 in the main album charts. That like feels like ages ago, but it still feels like yesterday. God, time does fly by.
Yeah, but you've done so much since then, haven't you? Well, what was more exciting, getting to #1 in the album chart or being played on Radio 1?
Oh, probably the #1 in the album chart. But Radio 1 play was very exciting as well.
Yeah.
It was very like, it felt like something that sort of would never happen because of the kind of music that we play, and it was just lovely. Yeah.
Yeah, it was Scott Mills, wasn't it, who played it first, which was amazing. And Claire, our friend Claire, was saying, "Oh my God, Guilty Flowers is being played on Radio 1," and we were like, "What is this? No, that's not real."
You must have had quite a lot of pinch me moments along the way. Can you pull out a few of those for us?
I think for us, it was so fast, everything that happened we've been doing this for a long time, but when things started to sort of work, it felt like we couldn't really keep up. And something that we've both had to sort of remind each other of before gigs and stuff is that, like, we're in Glasgow right now, and people have paid to come and tickets, and it's the first time we've ever been to Glasgow, and people are coming, and that's kind of oh my goodness, that's like, wow, someone's actually chosen to pay money to come and watch us play, which I think is the main pinch me moment.
I think there's like the most recent pinch me moment I'd say is me and Catherine went out on tour with James Blunt recently, and we've never gone on a tour where we've accompanied ourselves before, so we thought, we'd dive straight into the deep end and do arena shows, just us accompanying ourselves me on the keyboard and Catherine on the guitar. And I think when there was one moment where I was playing the piano, and I was like, a few months ago had to play the piano with a whole band, and I'd never played the piano in front of anyone before, and right now I'm in an arena playing
in front of thousands of people, and it's like that's something like, it's like the minute I play that chord, that's going to go around the whole arena. And like, we've never accompanied ourselves before, so that was quite a big like,
I was like, this has to be the right chord.
Yeah.
What was it like walking onto such a big stage then, when you've got that crowd in front of you, and it's the two of you. Obviously, your music fills the stage, it fills the arena, but when you're physically walking out, how did it feel?
I mean, you can't really see them until you finish the first song, because I found that we'd walk on and you'd hear like a sort of pitter patter of, like the support act is coming to play, and then when you'd finish the song and you heard the sort of clapping, that's when you go, oh, actually there's quite a lot of people out there. And I think we got a picture once or twice where we got the house lights brought up. That's the only time you're really like, we're actually playing in front of lots of people. And I think that kind of helped, not being able to see them, because we kind of just shut our eyes and just play what we wanted to play without worrying about what everyone was thinking until after it had happened. And then we're like, okay, it went okay.
Do you think that's the key though, to play what pleases you, makes you feel good, and then if you're kind of emitting that good feeling, that it gets picked up, the energy gets picked up by the crowd.
Definitely. I think that subconsciously, whether we want to or not, we will be able to tell everyone that what we like and what we don't like. If we're playing songs that we love, hopefully we'll sell them better because
people can tell
we
that
love
we love them.
And I think if we were to try and perform songs that we didn't feel, then we would subconsciously be telling everyone in the room.
Because we can't, you know, we can't lie. But
Yeah.
also, I think also the main thing, I think performing in front of big crowds for us, what we've learned in the most recent tours is like being present on stage rather than thinking of the what if I, you know, what if I completely mess up? What if the what ifs, or forget a lyric, or, you know, just say something stupid on stage. And I think more recently we've just learned to be ourselves and just have fun. And I think we've kind of been able to tell that with the crowd, and I think the crowd have been feeding off that.
That definitely helps. I think that that's something that we had to do when we were accompanying ourselves on the James Blunt tour, because sometimes if you're the singer, it's like you can kind of switch off in between songs, or you can, I mean, as the front man, you can never really switch off, but suddenly you had to think about what you were playing, and you had to think about what you were singing, and we had to get to a point where we didn't even need to think about what we were playing and singing, so that we could fully be present in that scenario.
Yeah.
And that took a couple of gigs, and then I think we were like, okay, now we're really enjoying these shows because we're not worried about playing the wrong chord. We're actually just like comfortable with what we're doing, so we can be there, if that makes sense.
Well, yeah, it does make sense, but I'm surprised that you said it only took you a couple of gigs. I mean, that's amazing when you think about it. You know, to be able to adapt your show so quickly. It was great though, wasn't it? With the fact that you had the single with James at that time.
Oh, yeah.
It seems like it was all planned really nicely, and a great fun video went with halfway too.
Yeah,
God,
that was a very fun day. We James actually messaged us and said, hey, do you have any friends that are around that want to come and join, because we're looking for people to just fill seats and be there. And so we were like, yeah, and it was sort of in the middle of the day on a Thursday, so we were thinking the kind of people that we know that would be around in the middle of the day on a Thursday are fellow actor creative friends that tend to sort of have those kinds of hours. So we invited a whole load of our friends that are actors, because we were like, they'll take it seriously, but they'll make
that just got out of bed.
Yeah. And so we messaged them all, and they turned up, and it was at this really cool bar in Hackney. And when I say really cool bar, I mean like it was I can't even remember the name of the venue, but it was very sort of stylized. It had that
it looked like kind of disco.
Yeah,
theme.
like a sort of old school 60s old man disco club. And they had an open bar. So we were doing all of our sort of close-up shots, and then they turned around and they were like, okay, now everyone, we're going to do this line dance. And our friends were just hammered.
Because of continuity, they had to have full glasses of beer or wine and stuff. So that, like, throughout the whole day, they were getting more and more hammered and drunk. So and it was very funny.
It was a fun day shooting, and I feel like it shows in the video how much fun we all had.
It really does. It really comes across. The atmosphere is captured beautifully, I think, because, I mean, it is lots of laughing, and I can see that you're laughing like properly, not acting, but actually laughing at. I didn't know they were your friends, but now I completely understand the reaction that was going on.
Yeah. I mean, we can't act, so it's definitely the truth when you see that kind of stuff. But yeah, and it was really fun playing that song live with James every night, because we had only met James on FaceTime before. We'd done all of the recording remotely,
the vocals,
and then we sort of suddenly were on tour with him, and it was just really fun to be singing that in real life on stage with him.
Now, James Blunt is one of the funniest people in the world on social networks.
Yeah.
I've interviewed him a few times, and I've always found him to be absolutely lovely. What was he like to tour with? Did you spend any time with him on the road, or how did it work?
Yeah, there was always a few drinks after every show that we all went to, and he was lovely. He was very welcoming, and a lot of his bandmates we had known from previous sessions in London, so it all became one nice big happy family.
Nice. It was really it's really nice when you go on tours like that, where the main act are just so nice, and they treat you well, and they're just really fun. And we normally had dinner in the catering before every show.
I guess also me and Lizzie were touring with our tour manager and sound engineer Bryony October, and our very good friend and photographer Sophia Bonnell. So it was literally just us four
Girls.
women, and we were like it was 100%. We kind of took pride in the fact that it was 100% female crew from our little
clan.
car, yeah. And so it's quite a nice dynamic, because I think a lot of the guys, they're used to touring with so many men that suddenly they're like, oh, it's so nice to have a bit more of a mixed group.
Yeah.
So it's quite good.
It sounds like it was absolute heaven. I've just been told that OJ Borge is listening in this morning. Good morning to you, OJ. I know he's a big fan of both of you.
Hello.
And actually, because I was with OJ when I interviewed you, wasn't I? The first time I was filling in for Simon Mayo, and OJ was.
We really enjoyed that interview.
That was so
really
fun.
Oh, thank you. We loved it. I was banging on to OJ about it afterwards, because I don't think that OJ was particularly that sold at the time on the kind of country feel, but afterwards, you know, he was like, damn, those girls are good, you know?
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't say it like that, obviously, but
No. Yeah, he suddenly went down south.
Yeah. Are you gonna be able to sing for us today? Or
Yes, we thought we'd sing a couple of songs from the EP. I might move this back a bit, so because we're reflected, it looks like it's a different time in the background because it's flipped.
Oh yeah, okay. Well, you both look effortlessly gorgeous, as you always do, and that's another thing I love about you, actually, because you never look like you've been kind of pimped and overstarred. You look really naturally beautiful and stylish, and I think you always look so cool. God, enough of me blowing smoke up your backside. You've come on today because you want to talk about the EP. So tell us about it.
Well, we've been working on new music for a while now, and we're still working on new music, and we're just, while we've been going through the lockdown, it's been really fun for us to have a project to get on with, and we've set up our
you can actually see right behind us. We have a little home studio there.
A little vocal booth home studio right there, and it's actually been really good for us because it's forced us to kind of learn the recording technical side of things that normally.
I'm sorry, I'm just moving this so that we can.
But it's been really good for us to learn those kinds of parts of recording, and it's been fun to kind of just trust our own. Like, it's all homemade.
It's fun as well.
Fun.
I feel like it's a nice interlude. The reason why the EP is called The Space Between is because we feel like it is the space between two albums, and we're working on an album at the moment. That will hopefully be released at some point this year. So it feels like the perfect little, this is what we've been working on at the moment, this is a little hint of what's going on, and then the album will be following.
It's a perfect hiatus, really, isn't it? An EP for that, I suppose. And you've already released a couple of singles from this EP before?
Yes. The first one was Painted Legacy that we released, and Hold Space, actually. Hold Space, I think, on the EP is probably one of our favourite ones.
Yeah.
Just because it's got a fun, positive message, and
it feels very relevant as well. It feels like it's very relevant at the moment, and it's like, it's kind of, the sentiment behind the song is we're all having, like, it's all a very uncertain time, and none of us can really the only thing we can really do for each other is to hold space sometimes, and like that's all we can really do, and sometimes that's the best thing to do for your friends when they're feeling groundless.
Exactly.
And there are a lot of people feeling like that, which is why we kind of started this little breakfast club thing as well, really.
I love it.
I know.
Thank you. I was watching the video to Hold Space. Well, it's art, actually. I think it's just a beautiful kind of really artistic, and I love. Was that your idea? How did that come about?
So it was designed by a really wonderful graphic designer called Tasha Tully, and we just basically sent her the song, sent her the lyrics, and we said, I told her what it's all about, and she kind of created this amazing visual piece of art that we absolutely love, and it really suits the song.
It does very much so. So what are you going to sing for us first?
Well, we could do Hold Space.
Well, that would be good, wouldn't
it?
Okay. It's this. Okay.
Your life's going down like a mudslide, and you're on the ground with your hands tied, feeling so done, and it's all wrong. You're locked into your indecision. You feel like you missed the audition for your own life, and it's not right. You're viewing from the valley and it's crowding your style. Everybody shouting at it by. You've been down every alley in denial. All that I can do is empathize. So I'm just gonna hold space. I know that I can't change it. Oh, go and make it okay. So I'm just gonna hold space. I'm just gonna hold space. I know that I can't change it. Oh, go and make it okay. So I'm just gonna hold space. I'm just gonna hold space. I know lots of talk would be worthless. The best kind of wisdom is wordless. We can just be. We can just breathe. The dark plays its part as a witness to the stars as they burn in the stillness. And I see you, and it's still you. I'm not gonna argue with your fear and your pain. I'll listen to what you have got to say. I'm not gonna guard you from the fire and rain. All that I can do is be a safe place. I'm just gonna hold space. I know that I can't change it. Oh, go and make it okay. So I'm just gonna hold space. I'm just gonna hold space. I know that I can't change it. Oh, go and make it okay. So I'm just gonna hold space. I'm just gonna hold space. I know I can't fit your shoes, but I can walk beside you. I can't tell you when to let go, but I promise to hold space. I'm just gonna hold space. I know that I can't change it. Oh, go and make it okay. So I'm just gonna hold space. I'm just gonna hold space. I know that I can't change it. Oh, go and make it okay. So I'm just gonna hold space. I'm just gonna hold space. Ah.
Yay! Oh, that sound that your voices create together, it's so dreamy. It really gives me shivers. It's lovely. And it's so early in the morning. Well done.
It's the tea. I was just going to say, it's so nice actually being live with you, because normally we go live and we're like, we finish the song and it's just silence. It's silent, so we can only like see people talking, but we're like, it's so nice like having an audience.
You've got a lovely audience. You've got lovely people watching you that will be absolutely loving it. And
oh my gosh.
yeah, so today is the release of this EP, the Space Between, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And it contains Painted Legacy, which is a very powerful song, which was about your uncle, wasn't it?
Yeah. So the reason why we wrote that song is it was a very stressful time for our family, and our cousins, who are like our siblings, had to sort of suddenly lose their dad. And a question that they were always asked, because he basically raised them on his own for most of their childhood. And our cousin Libby was always asked, oh, it must have been hard to be raised by just your dad. And she would always reply saying, you just don't know my dad. So the sentiment behind that song was that an ultimate legacy that you can leave behind is if you are that kind of father, and then hopefully your children, like Libby and all of our cousins, they have kids of their own, and they are going to hold their children the way that they were held, and they're going to keep that legacy alive.
And it's a beautiful song. It really is stunning. And so you've got Painted Legacy, you've got Hold Space, and you also done a cover of Landslide.
Landslide, yes. We love that song so much. Yes. It's like our all-time favourite song.
It's kind of the song we wished we had written.
Well, it was written, of course, by Stevie Nicks back in the 70s.
Yeah.
But covered by various different bands. But one of your favourite bands, the Dixie Chicks, covered it. And I wondered where you heard it first. Which artist made you fall in love with it?
We heard it first, Stevie Nicks. We heard it first because, oh my gosh, one of our chickens, sorry, has just flown on the window.
She's starting to knock on the window.
She's just been like, I want to get involved.
What are we
I feel like we have to show you.
We just have to show you because
have a look. Chickens.
She's just jumped up on the windowsill. She's like, what's going on in there?
Well, she's loving the music. That's what's going on.
Very distracting.
Animals love the good vibes. They love it.
She always does that. She's always wanting to come inside and be involved.
If you hear any taps, it's her tapping on the window.
But yeah, no, Stevie, and then Dixie Chicks also made us fall in love with the song. Like, we've heard it first with Stevie Nicks because our parents loved Fleetwood Mac and Stevie Nicks. We were brought up with all of it.
Please tell me that chicken's called Dixie.
No, she's actually called Chutney, but she probably should be called Dixie.
She's called Chutney.
The Dixie Chick.
Oh, you should be Dixie.
I've taken a picture.
It's chaos. I love it.
Oh my gosh, this is our life. We are very country. We've got chickens surrounding us. We've got a dog right next to us, and I've got a miniature Shetland and cat, that sometimes hangs out in the garden with the chickens.
You grew up in that sort of environment, though, didn't you, on a farm?
Very much so, and I
very
think
much
that's
so.
why we were kind of drawn to the country music and why we were very much drawn to the Dixie Chicks. And I think something that really made us love the Dixie Chicks was that we always sang in harmony, because we went to schools where we were always in the choirs singing in harmony.
Yeah.
But we never really thought that you could sing in harmony and do the music that you love. And that was like, oh, you can. So that's kind of like our...
Well, I remember we went to an all-girls. We went to an all-girls school called Alton Convent when we were younger, and they always, had these classical concerts put on. And me and Catherine went, and it was like the last concert last concert, and we left that school, I think.
Yeah.
And we went and sang "Not Ready to Make Nice" by the Dixie Chicks, and it's so different from classical music. We were like sassily, like, "I'm not ready to make nice." It was quite funny. That's like one of the first stories of when we kind of started singing country music together.
Was it your was one of the, well, it must have been a pivotal moment, but I read that your music teacher had contacts in Nashville. Is that how that all started, when you guys were 17?
Yeah,
Yes.
so yeah, basically we were having singing lessons at our school, and we had written a song called Footnotes. And I think we were having separate lessons.
So we were very lucky because that school also offered songwriting lessons as well. So we wrote that song Footnotes with a guy called Matt Greaves, and our senior teacher Anne Bailey was very excited by the fact that it was two British twins doing country music, and she was a session singer in Nashville for a couple of years, and she was like, I need to send this to people in Nashville. And the next thing we knew, we started like writing more songs and recording over in Nashville, and it kind of started. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, that is a great story, isn't it? I mean, you can say it's luck that that teacher was there, but obviously it was completely meant to be. I think as the start of the line for you, found yourselves in Nashville.
We were very lucky. Yeah.
How was that though, when you were 17, to be suddenly in this epicenter of music and writing? And
oh my gosh,
I honestly don't think we really appreciated it until afterwards. I think we kind of were there and we were soaking it all up.
doughy eyes.
Yeah, we just kind of landed and we were like, oh, this is so cool. And then I think literally in the last few years, we've been able to go, how cool was it that we were doing our A-levels and then we were rushing off to Nashville? We couldn't really appreciate it. I think it's like properly hit us now that was an incredibly unique experience for two 17-year-olds.
Yeah.
And what do you get from writing in Nashville that you don't get from writing in the UK, for example?
I think Nashville is such, like, the music is everywhere, and everyone you meet, even if you're in the supermarket, is a better guitar player than you, or is amazing musicians or amazing fiddle players, and you're just surrounded. You're living and breathing music everywhere you go.
Yeah.
And you learn.
Quite disciplined as well.
It's very disciplined.
We would go, normally if we have a writing session in London or down here, we'll have a cup of tea and we'll have a chat, and then maybe we'll get around to writing a verse and then chat, and then by the end of the day we will have finished a song. Whereas when we first went to Nashville and we were like, right, we're going to do a writing session, and the session started at 11, and normally a session that starts at 11 will go on until like 8 o'clock in the evening, and we'll have that. And we sat down and we started writing, and then the lady that we were writing with was like, what are your plans this afternoon? And we were like, oh, well, are we not going to be here? And she was like, oh no, I have another session.
So,
and we were like, oh.
So we've had trips to Nashville where we've had like 2 or 3 sessions a day, and it's like it's like a machine, and everyone's like,
And they just write so much. It's like that side of their brain is so exercised that they can just go bang, bang,
So
bang.
I remember asking one of the writers we wrote with out there, being like, how can you write? Like, it's a real different way of writing music than what we've experienced. Like, and she's like, actually, I find it really great because my brain gets used to being in that kind of pattern of like just churning things out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, that's really interesting because
I need to like, for me, I need to like, we need to do the recording and the touring, and then I'll be ready to carry on writing again. I don't have that brain that can keep doing it
like that.
Yeah, because I suppose my brain is now thinking, is that not kind of stifling in a sort of creative way that you have to come up with a song in 3 hours or 4 hours or whatever?
I guess everyone's different as well. Everyone works differently. And also we work with people in Nashville who work a bit more similar to us. Like we work very, have nice long lunches and just chat. And we love to kind of get to know someone before pouring our heart out to someone, because that, writing songs is a very personal thing.
It's very intimate as well. Sometimes you'll go into a room and you're like, I don't really like this person, or they don't really like us, and it's a bit awkward, so we're not going to come out with a good song today. And they are sometimes the longest days we've ever lived ever. But most of the time we've gone in and said, most of the time it's
very rarely had writer sessions where we've not liked.
Yeah, it's so rare.
We've had sessions where we're like, we get on really well, but like the creative chemistry isn't clicking.
Yeah.
It's different every time.
I suppose that's the thing in the music industry, isn't it? You really have to choose the people around you very, very carefully, and there has to be an inherent trust between you, and obviously a bond with people that you're working with regularly in terms of songwriting and producing and so on. But it can be, it can be quite dangerous, can't it, in terms of picking the wrong people that don't get you, that want to push you in a certain direction. And it seems to me as though you guys have been able to hold on to what's really important to you, and you write very presently about what's going on in your life, and you're very vocal about matters that can be quite contentious sometimes.
I think that's very important to us, because we find it really hard not writing anything that's not honest. Like every song that we write, it completely comes from experiences of our own, experiences of friends and family that we've watched happen, and I think that's the only way we can write songs. It's all, I can't really write a song that's not honest and genuine. Personally, but I think it's important to speak about things through music. I think that's what Dolly Parton. We love Dolly Parton. She is so good at that. She is so good at writing real stuff and real stories and songs, and everyone relates to it in different ways. And because music speaks to you in such a different way from just chats and talking about it, but
definitely, it's like it's another way of communicating your feelings. And sometimes things come up in the songwriting process that you didn't even know that you felt, and you go, oh wow, that actually makes so much sense now. And it's like a therapy session. And I think it's just a really good way of expressing yourself in a way, especially in a world at the moment where there's so much going on, and there's so many different opinions, and there's so many different angles that everyone's sort of got their own way of saying. And I think that we will always do it.
Sorry, delivery.
I think our dogs
Did you get the dog?
But anyway, this is what happens at home. You can never plan these things.
I want to know what's being delivered now.
So do I. I wonder what it is. Oh.
Do you feel a sense of... Yeah, it's a bit...
I'm so sorry.
That's all right.
Sorry. Okay,
you go and sort out what you need to sort out. And then...
No, it's all good. It's all good.
Do you feel a sense of responsibility, being in the public eye, being young and admired by, many people, especially your age, to say the right thing, and not just about singing, but obviously a part of being visible now is being on the social networks. And I just noticed recently that you've been very vocal and very positive about certain aspects of things that are going on around the world.
I think it's a very difficult time to know when to say stuff, because I think that we're in a world now where literally at the press of a button, we can do so many different things, and we can either speak up or we can stay silent. And I think it's about knowing when is your place and when is not your place. And I think we're still figuring that out. I think we're still figuring out when it's okay to speak up and when it's good to sort of stay out of it. We definitely have our opinions, and we definitely have a goal to sort of make sure that we say what we feel is important. But we also are very conscious of the fact that being singers, essentially first, our opinion isn't necessarily something that everyone wants to hear all the time on other matters. So I think it's just trying to find that balance of knowing when to speak up and when to sort of, you know, not, basically. We've always spoken very vocally on the subject of mental health. I think our album being called Restless Minds, it sort of felt like we had to sort of give everyone a bit of a background info as to why that album's called Restless Minds. We've talked very vocally on what it's like to be people in your 20s in 2019-20, because that's that's very close to us, because that's what we are. So I think that if we have ever been able to influence anyone of our age group or of our peers that have been feeling the same, then our goal is accomplished.
I mean, I love Lie Like Me anyway as a song, but I love what was behind it with the fact that, you know, you were talking about social networks and how it's not real life, and not compare yourself to what you see on Instagram, because people don't post their rubbish pictures on Instagram, do they?
I mean, exactly. And I think we were noticing this huge correlation, and I know that everyone else was as well, between the rise in mental health, the rise in anxiety, and the rise in social media. And we were sat there sort of scrolling through, and not only is the scrolling something that you're going to always keep doing, and it never finishes, and I think our brains are literally programmed to just keep going. So we're dealing with an addiction, like a modern day addiction, that there's no real age limit for.
Yeah.
And we're consuming this media that we originally thought was like celebrity culture, but now it's the girl next door culture. And we think that their lives are what we should be living. And I think it's such a rose-tinted view of what everyone's lives are.
And there's
so I think
much
it's so rough.
There's so much, like, our brains can't take all that information in, like, at once. It's so much going in that's why I think we suffer more from anxiety and mental health. I mean, it's always been a thing. Mental health has always been a thing. It's just not as talked about in the past. But I do think there is a big thing about trying to take in everything all at once, all on your phone, or, you know, every bit of news that you see, especially now, like, it's an anxious time, and sometimes it can be quite overwhelming.
Yeah, there's a lot going on, and sometimes you need to acknowledge what you want to acknowledge, and then switch off and not look at the news for a good period of time. I think it's because you don't know whether you're reading the truth or not anyway, do you?
Exactly, that's so true. I think it's like knowing where your information's coming from, like forming your own opinions and trying to sort of be balanced is so hard when you're always seeing sort of specifically curated content for your taste, because that seems to be happening, where people are targeted for what they want you to see, and it's just it's a slippery slope, I think. And if we're very conscious of it, then we can use social media for the right things, and we can enjoy them for the right things without taking everything at face value.
Well said. Have you sorted the deliveries? Everything okay?
It's all good. I felt really bad because it was taking a while, and I was like, oh god, oh no. And then I came inside, and the chicken was in the kitchen. So I was like, oh, Chutney, the chicken.
I didn't even notice that. We have,
Do you think this might be a good time to play another song, girls?
Yes, probably a good time.
Yeah.
Okay.
What song would you like to hear from the EP? Landslide, or what? Yeah, basically.
I think it would be very nice to hear your version of Landslide.
Okay, amazing.
I would love it. I'm sure everybody else would too.
Okay.
Okie dokie. Now I'll try. Hopefully there's no deliveries, no dog barking, no chickens in the middle of this.
I think we're done with deliveries. Okay.
No flying chickens at the window.
Exactly. Wait, I just need to make sure I'm in the right key.
That one,
yeah. Okay, so, yeah, perfect. climbed a mountain and I turned around, and I saw my reflection in the snow-covered hills where the landslide brought me down. Oh, mirror in the sky, what is love? Can the child within my heart rise above? Can I sail through the changing ocean tides? Can I handle the seasons of my life? Well, I've been afraid of changing, 'cause I build my life around, but time makes bolder, children get older, and I'm getting older too. Well, I'm getting older too. Well, I've been afraid of changing, 'cause I build my life around you, but time makes bolder, children get older, and I'm getting older too. Well, I'm getting older too. So take this love and take it down. And if you climb a mountain and you turn around, and if you see my reflection in the snow-covered hills, well, maybe, well, maybe, the landslide will bring me down.
Oh, that's
Thank you.
dreamy. Thank you so much. You know, when you both come in together, the Geordie Lodger looked at me and he just put his hands up like this, and it just, honestly, I'm sure everybody's probably saying the same. It just hits you right. It's really gorgeous version. I believe Bob Harris played it last night. Did
Yes, he
yes.
did. Yes, he
What,
did.
lovely Bob. By the way, he sends his love. He sent me a message yesterday saying, "Send the girls my love." It's like the big grandfather, isn't he?
Yeah,
He
he
totally
definitely is.
What did he say about your song? Because unfortunately, I didn't get to listen to his show last night. I'll have to listen to it back today.
I mean, I don't know, he was really nice. I don't know, I'm finding it really...
He's
always
always so
lovely.
nice, and he's always been so supportive. But yeah, no, he's played our song for the first time. Songs a lot.
He's always our sort of, he always plays our songs.
He's the grandfather. He's like of country music. He's like the head of country music in the UK.
And I think it feels especially special from Bob, because he's been championing country music in the UK for forever. And it's sort of now started to make this resurgence. Now it's starting to make this popular thing where everyone's starting to understand what country music is nowadays. It's a very different thing, and he's just, I just feel really happy that he's been such an amazing
and the
champion
Under the
for us.
Apple Tree as well, the sessions, Under the Apple Tree sessions that the whole Harris family run, and it's just, I remember that when that kind of started and that began, when we were quite young, but we've just
You're
always
still
been,
young.
Yeah, when we were still young. I mean, back then I felt we were so young. But yeah, no, the Harris family have always been such a support for us. And I remember singing at Trudy's 50th birthday party on their balcony, which was really fun. It felt like it just felt very surreal. But yeah, no, it was very exciting, especially singing, like him playing Landslide, because for us the Dixie Chicks was where it all began for us, and Fleetwood Mac, both Fleetwood Mac and the Dixie Chicks, because our parents always played the Fleetwood Mac and that kind of music, and when we were growing up, and then the Dixie Chicks we fell in love with, and that's when we got into country music. And so that song Landslide is a very important song for us, because I think it was the beginning of our career, basically.
Yeah, it threads throughout your life, doesn't it? It weaves all the way back, which is really interesting. It's always quite dangerous to do a cover, but obviously you've done it more than just this, and it's really
it's a scary thing doing
covers is scary, because you want to put your own
spin on it.
But yeah, exactly, but not butcher it at the same time.
No, well, no, you definitely didn't do that. But that's because she wrote that, didn't she, when she was trying to desperately sort of trying to break into the music industry, and she was a waitress at the time, and she was going out with Lindsey Buckingham, and she was just so tired of the whole industry and not being able to get any success and working so hard, and kind of having this relationship that was obviously always quite feisty, I think. And whether to hang on to that relationship and keep going for the music, or whether to do something completely different and maybe go back to school. So, because she didn't have any money or anything, so it's got a big drive, big story behind. And then when you look at what she went on to do, you know, it just is a lesson, isn't it, in keep on trying to do what your passion is, what you really want to do, and you know, hopefully the hard work will pay off in the end.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's just a wonderful life lesson. That song just feels like it could ring true for so many people in so many different walks of life with so many different dreams. So.
Yeah. Under the Apple Tree Sessions that you just mentioned, because Bob was on here a few weeks ago, and he was in his studio, and he gave us a little tour of his studio where you sing and everything, because it's quite small in there. It's very intimate, isn't it?
Yes, I think it's a very small little intimate room with the most extensive CD collection we've ever seen.
Oh my god,
yes.
And I don't think I've ever seen someone fit that many albums in that size of room ever before. So it feels like a very special sacred room, because you're kind of surrounded by music.
And it's great because you kind of walk through the garden, and you know it's like in the garden, in the middle of the garden,
under the apple tree.
Under the apple tree.
It's really beautiful, and there's a YouTube channel, by the way, anybody that wants to subscribe to that and check out some of the sessions that Bob's done. They are really stunning, and it leads me to talking about country, because Chrissy Rhodes was on here last Friday. A big friend of yours. I know you guys have played together a lot, haven't you, with the Shire?
We have, yes.
I saw you actually in Hyde Park in 2015. I think you did the main stage.
We actually played another Fleetwood Mac.
You did everywhere. Yeah, you did. And I was talking to her about, you know, your voices all together and how it works, and you know, she was waxing lyrical about how great it is to share a stage with you and spend time with you. And I just wondered how much you guys had helped each other, because you've both been kind of on the crest of this wave, but leading the UK country movement, genre, whatever you want to call it, because it's hard to define what it is, isn't it, really?
It is. I think also because the word country is it's got such a big meaning to it. Like, modern country is so different from, you know, classic country like Patsy Cline. And
I think also it's been such a dirty word for such a long time in the UK. Country music sounds like people go, oh no, like it was sort of trying to break down that stigma, and it was so amazing to have the Shires alongside us as we were both sort of making this journey, because it's a much better sales pitch, I think, to the public when there's a few people wanting to be involved, especially people of our sort of age group that want to be involved. And I mean, Chrissy and Ben, we love them. We've toured with them. We toured with them in November. We did a co-headline tour, and that was kind of the first starting point of this,
like the country movement, country movement. But also, I think I think Chrissy and Ben would say the same. We were very lucky with our timing as well. I think it was during when the Nashville TV show was out. Dolly Parton had just had the biggest crowd at Glastonbury.
Yeah.
The C2C festival was kind of getting bigger. And we were very lucky to have a lot of, you know, like Terry Wogan was so amazing at supporting young up and coming acts at the time, and we were so lucky to have people like him support, and Bob Harris supporting us. But yeah, and also artists coming, and Taylor Swift did a big thing for country music globally, I think.
Yeah.
For the younger crowd, but also artists like Casey Musgraves, Maren Morris, all these kind of cool young female artists coming out at the time, making country music cool. And I think modern country, that's what they call themselves, isn't it? It's kind of modern country but with pop as well.
Yeah.
And they've just been supporting members of the One Direction, like Casey Musgraves supported Harry Styles, and then Maren Morris supported Niall.
Yeah.
So that is, it's becoming, it's almost just naturally growing in the kind of pop culture, as well as, you know, in the pop mainstream culture, as well as the country world.
That's the thing, isn't it? It is heavily weaved already into pop music, country music. If you strip out a song, a lot of pop music, it is country, isn't it?
Yeah, and you only have to go to the Bluebird Cafe and watch all these songwriters, and they're all sitting in a circle in the middle of the room, and they start playing songs, and you suddenly go, oh, well, that's a Celine Dion song, and oh, I know that song. That was that One Direction cut there. And so many of these huge pop songs were written in
a country way, in
home of country. And Nashville's always been called Music City because it's not exclusive to country, but there's so many crossovers that we don't see until we dig. If you do some digging, you start to see so many of the same songwriters on a lot of these different tracks.
I Will Always Love You is a really good example of that, done back in the day. Dolly Parton wrote that as a country song, and Whitney Houston took it on and made it huge in the mainstream world. But because it's just a classic, amazingly well-written, honest song. And that's what country music is, I think. It's just honest lyrics and melody in a song.
That is probably a very good description of what country music is. Probably the best one I've heard, actually. Yes.
Great.
I'm going to ask you some questions from the Breakfast Clubbers.
Okay.
Oh, great.
Okay. Have you got one more song in you this morning, by the way, to finish
Yeah,
on?
we can.
Yeah.
All right, awesomeness. Roman Jake, he would like to know, if you could have been locked down anywhere in the world, where would you have been?
Probably right here at home.
I know you were gonna say.
Set up here.
I almost got stuck in Botswana, in Africa.
What?
Yeah, because I got my flight literally.
Lizzie was in Africa, by the way.
I was in, I literally, and that would have been an amazing place to have lockdown as well. But I literally got my flight, and we went on lockdown 2 days after I got home. So,
and luckily we managed
to
stay together and keep recording.
Yeah.
I think that's been quite useful.
Yeah, I mean, if I was in the middle of like living in the bush in Botswana, that would have been hard to get anything done.
Yes.
It would have given you some good writing material for the future, though. Maybe there's always
Definitely
ways
come home with an album.
Definitely.
Exactly. And anyway, you've become tech gurus during lockdown, so you've done very well.
Catherine, more than me.
Steve Burt would like to know if you have any interest at all in motorbikes, because obviously a lot of people that watch this are big bike fans. And will the Space Between be available on CD?
So Space Between is a digital download only, but we will definitely have all of those songs on the album. I mean, on the EP, will be on the album, which will be a physical copy. So that will definitely be available soon.
And I've only sat on a motorbike before, and I felt very cool. But you know, I don't trust myself to drive a motorbike because I'd probably hurt myself and end up in hospital.
Yeah, they're the kind of things that we look at and think are cool from afar.
But
but we're terrified of them.
Okay.
So sadly, we haven't got a huge amount of interest, but I'm very open-minded to learn more about them.
Yes, definitely.
Very good answer. Thank you for that. M. May would like to know what's happening about touring. Any dates that were in being postponed, cancelled? How is it working?
So as of now, our tour is still scheduled to go ahead in September. We are still sort of waiting to see what happens and what's going on with with the current climate and what's happening, and we'll obviously maybe reschedule it if we have to, but as of now it's still going ahead in September. We will definitely announce within plenty of time if it does end up having to be rescheduled again.
Okay. She also wanted to know, and a lot of people want to know, the favourite song that you've written yourselves.
Oh, that's always a really difficult question for us, because
Does it change as well every
changes
month?
And yeah, exactly, like it changes with albums and where your head is. I'd probably say, like, if we were to say a favorite from the Cartwheels album, maybe
I'd say probably Cartwheels,
or Carry You
Home, or This Too Will Pass. I do feel like that's quite a special song to me.
This Too Will Pass was on my system.
I know, but I'm thinking about all of the songs.
But yeah, and yeah, a lot of the songs. This Too Will Pass. A lot of our like slower songs are some of our favourite songs as well. Painted Legacy, I'd say, is a very special song to us because it's, you know, it's close to home.
Absolutely, I can well imagine, and it's a beautiful song as well. Right, let's just have a couple more here. Right, this is a really interesting one and a bit weird, so excuse me. Jenny Whitworth says, does Catherine have a belly button phobia? She must have read something somewhere, but she says she has that, and she wonders, have you actually got a phobia of belly buttons, and is that a thing?
I wouldn't say that I like belly buttons, but I don't know if it's something that I have a phobia of. That's mad, though.
I wonder where that's up somewhere.
I don't know.
That's really interesting.
I'm going to look into belly button phobias now. Yeah.
I know people are weird about belly buttons, though, aren't they? Because I think there's some sort of button to your body that if you do something with it, you're going to, you know, empty out or something. I don't know. Anyway,
like a
sorry, for breakfast. And music tour news. Okay, this is a good question. How does it feel to be recording on your own label? I'm sorry if it's noisy here. We've got a strimmer who's on steroids over there, I think. Just
that's
really
okay. We've had chickens and dog barking
and everything. So,
I would say that it's a very scary but exciting thing. We did it with From Where We Stand, our first album, and it's a new venture for us for this time around, and I think that we're really excited to see how it goes.
I think we've got a really good management team. We've got a really good team around us that we're so thankful to have, because we wouldn't be able to do it without them. And it's a good challenge. I think, like, it's not because we're artists and songwriters through and through, but it's challenged us to kind of think in the business side of things in the music industry as well.
So we're learning a
lot, and you know, we're trying to kind of wrap our heads around everything, because the music industry includes so much.
Yeah, so that I was going to ask you sort of pros and cons. So what are the cons of, obviously if you're recording on your own label, you've got complete control of everything, but the negative side of that presumably is you don't have that kind of money machine behind you in terms of publicity and getting songs out there and things.
You definitely don't have the weight of a label, whether it be their sort of bank or their expertise, and you're going up against people that do have that weight. But I feel like we're in an age now where it's not really going up against people anymore. It's like everyone is listening to all sorts of music, and hopefully there's just a place for everyone, and hopefully it will be okay.
And I do think nowadays it's really nice, it's really interesting to see there's so many collaborations going on these days. I feel like more than ever. So I feel it really shows that artists are supporting each other and just doing it all together, which is so nice and refreshing to see, because obviously there's still going to be competitive, it's still going to be a competitive industry, whether you get on, you know, this playlist and that playlist, but it's still a lot more artists kind of doing it together. And also we've written with a lot of other artists recently, which has been really fun for us, and we've kind of made friends through other artists that way, which is nice.
Yeah, and I suppose in days gone by, record labels had such power that they would be pushing obviously all of their artists. You can put that one on that bill, but you've got to have these two as well, and you could end up, can't you, being sort of small and being pushed out. But whereas now it sounds like to me that the address is bouncing a little bit more. And Narina Palo is works from her own album, label as well for the very same reason. It's a minefield though, isn't it? Music industry. It is a very tricky industry to be involved with. So
Yeah.
So really good luck with that.
Thank you.
There was another question for you then. I can't. It's just gone into the ether. So right. So everybody needs to go and download the Space Between today. It's out today, isn't it?
Yes, it's out today.
And shall we finish with a song?
Yeah. We could do Painted Legacy if we're going to stay on the EP theme.
Okay, that sounds good to me.
That suits everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, always have to check this.
The key.
Okay. You can't go yet. There's so much left unsaid. I need to say. You don't know it, but you made me who I was today. Do you remember when you had to learn to braid our hair? It was a mess, but you made the best of what was there. You can't go yet. I wanna tell you how the girls have been, and they don't know yet. I need to call them. How do I begin? What would I do to try and make them understand? I wonder if you'd pretend you'd flown to Neverland. The way you painted legacy brings alive my memories of how you spun pure gold out of the dust. I can't bear to see you go somewhere far where I can't follow, but I'll hold them how you hold us. Close and safe and unafraid of love, and that's enough. I still see you smiling back at me with you I said, and I will see you in my memory and in the mirror. Your easy laughter lighting up across my face. Your heart and mine are tied, and that will never change. The way you painted legacy brings alive my memories of how you spun pure gold out of the dust. I can't bear to see you go somewhere far where I can't follow, but I'll hold them. Close and safe and unafraid of love, and that's enough. As the softest sunset colors fade into a gray sky, I will always want just one more day to list the reasons why. You will always be mine. You will always be mine. And that's enough.
Oh, you know, when I'm listening to you, I'm just thinking, how can that only be two voices? It's so powerful. It really is stunning. Thank you for singing the rest of the day. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much for having us.
Loved it. I've absolutely had such a lovely hour. I'm so selfish, but honestly, I've loved it. It's been gorgeous talking to you. A couple of things. Where can people download the EP?
Everywhere.
Everywhere.
Streaming platforms. We've put a swipe up link in our stories, so if anyone wants to swipe up, they will find it all there.
Okay, good idea.
Yeah, get it everywhere basically.
All right, I'll repost that. And you know, you talked about this. This was my question that I was going to ask you that floated off. You talked about writing with different artists recently. Will any of those songs be on the new album? And is there anybody that you can tell us that you've been writing with?
Yes, one of the new songs is called Someone to Someone. It's also on the EP. We wrote it with an artist called Dan Owen. So that we can definitely reveal.
Yes.
And I guess the other artists we'll have to see. Well, we'll have to wait and see, I guess.
Well, we could say we've written.
Oh, we can write with them. But
We
it's
wrote
more
with
like
Gabrielle Applin, and that was so
that
fun.
was a lot of fun. Yeah. Actually, that's a good one.
That's and we wrote a song called Starts All Over that we love.
So we'll definitely be releasing it at some point.
At some point.
Oh,
But,
cool.
So
Okay.
yeah, we've written with loads of amazing artists and artists in Nashville as well. We've written a lot with Sarah Darling, who's one of our best mates over there. So
she's the person we go to when we need a cup of tea because her husband's British, so she
Yeah.
always puts the kettle on.
when we're in Nashville, she's our British home.
Yeah.
Is your home from home?
She's our home from home.
Well, thank you today for sharing your home with us, your chickens and your delightful music. We've absolutely had a blast. We've really loved it. Thank you, and good luck with the EP, good luck with the forthcoming album and the tour, and we hope to catch you live very, very soon.
Well, thank you so much.
We
Thank
hope to
you.
be playing live very soon. We're desperate.
Yay! I know you love playing live, don't you? I can't. Well, it'd be great. It'd be great if you can get back out on tour when it's all safe, obviously, and everything. Lizzie, Catherine, have yourselves a great day, and lots of love to you both, and thank you.
Lots of love to you as well. See you soon.